Good evening, and thank you for joining us. My name is Ashley West with FTMIG Events, and I will be your host this evening as we are joined by Terry Lynch, CEO of Power Nickel and founder of Save Canadian Mining. Power Nickel is a Canadian junior exploration company focusing on high potential nickel, copper, gold, and other battery metal prospects in Canada and Chile. Power Nickel's flagship NISC project, located in Quebec, Canada, is a carbon-neutral source of high-grade nickel and other battery metals. The NISC project benefits from an abundant supply of low-carbon hydropower and carbon capture technology that uses NISC's ultramafic tailings to help offset the mine's emissions. Mr. Lynch will be providing a company update and overview, followed by a Q&A session. Questions can be typed into the Q&A section of the webinar room. And with that, Terry, welcome, and the stage is all yours.
Great, Ashley. Thanks for having us. So I thought I would do something a little bit different tonight. I'm not going to run you through the regular corporate presentation. I'm going to run you through a presentation, but we're going to take a different tactic. We're going to sort of, cut to the chase, do you a bit more of an elevator pitch. And so what we're going to go through is really the top 5 reasons to invest in Power Nickel, and we'll answer some of the questions, I'm sure, along the way. So I'm going to see if the technology will let me work one more time. Let's see here. Yeah, so we're going to talk to you about the 5 reasons to invest in Power Nickel. Certainly not for my technology prowess, so that you can see that's clearly some sort of a challenge. But we'll tell you nothing but the truth. But as always with any investment, you should do your own due diligence. So we'll get right into it. Top 5 reasons to invest in Power Nickel now. The exciting exploration results in our PGM zone will act as a catalyst for investors. What do I mean by that? Well, if you recall, we made the step out in about April of last year, and we stepped out 5.5 kilometers from our primary NISC zone where the nickel deposit is at the moment. And we hit this amazing bonanza hole of almost 8 meters, 7.75 meters of almost over 1 ounce PGMs. That was a really terrific hole. And then because it was in a marshy area, we couldn't get back into it until this January. And so we've been drilling it aggressively since then. And so this little graphic here is about 2 weeks old, and we probably added another 4 holes. And I would say, the discovery hole, which was a great hole, is probably not going to be in our top 10 holes. So think about that for a second. I mean, the discovery hole was awesome. You imagine that's not in the top 10. You'll get to understand how awesome we think this PGM discovery could be. If you look at the graphic, and this was press released out, so we're not talking into school here. You can see that discovery hole is this. If the cursor is up here, you can see how thick it is, and then look at how thick some of these things are. So that's a reason to get super excited, because it's near surface. It's basically at the surface, and we haven't found it's still it's about, I think, 225 meters wide, and at this point 275 meters deep. They tell me in the Abitibi or in the Archean Shield that if your width is X, your depth is going to be at least 10X. So you can rack up a lot of ounces very, very quickly this way, high grade near at surface. That's going to be exciting. So we're super stoked about that. I mean, obviously we knew we had it last year, this hole, but then following it up is a whole other different circumstance, because it's never usually like this. But we've been pretty frank in the press releases that we're super excited about this, that we think it's material news. Market has not picked that up as of yet, but the assays, which will start to trickle out next week and then pick up steam through April, I think will be a major point of difference. So for me right now, this would be the number 1 reason to look at investing in Power Nickel. Okay, how about that? Can we see that?
Yes, new PGM, copper, gold, silver discovery.
Yeah, okay, here we go. So for the 8th time, no, just kidding, the 3rd time. But the 3rd time's the charm, isn't that what they say? So this was this little area up here, which was obviously 8 meters. Yeah, so you can just see visually, it's getting better, right? So And this is just we're, I don't know, 4 or 5 holes shy of what we've done already. So that particular project is now, it's just looking amazing, and it's just, one of those fortunate turn of events for us and for our shareholders that we think can. Obviously, we've been pretty frank about the positive upside of it in the press releases, but when the assays get out, I think they'll understand how real this is, and it's got considerable room to grow. We think it. Who knows? It's going to be big. Second big reason we think Power Nickel is such a great investment right now is our evolving relationship with CVMR. So CVMR is, of course, the nickel refinery company that's doing the feasibility study at NISC, and that's going very well. I was just chatting with them before we got on tonight, and get that report this week, and expect to get that out probably next week. At least on this first stage of it. And the reason why we like CVMR so much is that nickel obviously has had its challenges this year in the last, I guess, year with the explosion of the Indonesian nickel, and the pricing, etc., has dropped, and that's made everyone fairly negative on nickel. Another topic we'll get into, but one of the reasons why we love CVMR is that their particular refining approach is they take nickel from miners like Power Nickel, and they turn it into nickel powders and wires and anodes and other things. And that market's been growing at 29% per annum. And if you're a top technical nickel producer like these guys are, they're selling this nickel powder for $60,000 to $80,000 per ton. London metal pricing on nickel today is around 17,500 or something like that. So you can see a manifest change in the nickel price. You can get much more, for your nickel. Plus, their process actually recovers more nickel. So you get, right now we're getting on the recovery. If we were to make a concentrate, we think about, the 43101s at 70%. With these guys, we think we'll be getting upwards of 90%. And in addition to being able to process it into the nickel powders, we'll also, the byproducts revenue are going to go up because better recoveries on the byproducts, and we'll be able to include iron as a byproduct because about 12% of our deposit is iron, and they make iron powders as well. So it's really going to be a amazing opportunity to partner with these guys. It may be so amazing that we think there'll be some more business development issues. I don't want to jump the shark on this, but there'll be some more stuff that we'll talk about when we issue the report and press release in the coming weeks. But this whole CVMR relationship is really going to be a great one for the company, and that would be, for me, my number 2 reason why to invest in Power Nickel today. Number 3, North American nickel is different and worth a lot more than nickel elsewhere. We have a great nickel deposit. It's going to grow. It's right now, 43101 was 7.1 million tons, about 1.13%. The other high-grade ultramafic deposits in Canada in the history that were big: Lynn Lake, 22 million tons, Voisey's Bay, now close to, I think it's 140 million tons. So we think we're going to be somewhere in between there, but we got potential. We could be super big too. So the nickel mines get profitable at 10 million tons for sure, so we definitely see this being a mine, and we think it's going to be a significant mine. That being said, nickel mines in North America, especially high-grade nickel sulfide mines, are different. Okay, we're not competing with Indonesian nickel. Really, we're not, because we're going to be making products like the powders and the wires and anodes and stuff like that. And these products have to be present in North American vehicles in order for those vehicle manufacturers to offer rebates. So as a result, you're seeing major price differences, for North American nickel versus other nickels, and you're seeing it. Here's proof. This was, one of our peers, Canada and Nickel, which is got quite a different deposit than us. They're a very big deposit, very low grade, but they do make nickel sulfide. And Samsung just invested close to $20 million US in them, plus agreed, they have an option to invest another 110 million to be a 10% partner in the project, and they have the right on the offtake to buy about $1 billion worth of nickel a year. So a massive commitment, really. And I've actually met the Samsung people 2 times now in Korea, and the same group that did the deal, and they tell me this is only 20% of their needs for North America for that time. So they're looking for more nickel, and I met with other Korean battery manufacturers, and they said the same thing. These are substantial companies, obviously very credible. They're household names. They can't be associated with they have to at least mitigate the perception that they're raping the planet, right? With the if they're dealing with Indonesian nickel, which has its own issues, right? And it's not like the Indonesians are fine people. I've met with Indonesian nickel people when I was in Korea, not this time, but the last time, and they're doing the best they can. The challenge is they've got nickel at surface, nickel laterites, and when you mine that, it creates runoff. The runoff is in a tropical rainforest, so unfortunately it's killing stuff, and it goes into the water there that kills more stuff. And then that laterite, in order to process it into nickel that they can use in the battery plants for the Chinese electric vehicle market manufacturers, they have to use a lot of energy. Yeah, because it's a lot more processing to get it to that state versus, say, nickel sulfides. And of course, they're coal fired. So you've got a double whammy of the mining impact, which is much more severe just because of the nature of mining and where they're mining it in tropical rainforest, and where they're located and where they can put their stack piles and stuff like that, and then compound it by the coal plants. So that is already getting a lot of negative publicity, and I don't know what they can do to really help. It's not that they're wanting to do it that way. It's just that this is the way it is. I don't know how they can engineer the way out of it. So that's why, trust me when I tell you that Samsung's investment in Canada Nickel was no joke, and there's going to be a lot more investments in Canadian nickel companies from offshore manufacturers and onshore manufacturers, because they're going to need to get access to good, clean Canadian nickel. Number 4 reason, commodity markets are turning up, and now it's the time to invest. This is an older commodity slide. There's actually a more current one, but I came up with this brainwave of doing the top 5 reasons why at about 5:30 or something. So I was just trying to shake it up a little bit, do something a little different. And but the point is, if you check this commodity stuff, commodities go up and down, and they definitely they are down, have been for a long time, but they've turned up. And when they rip, I mean, it's an amazing thing. And there's another slide that probably was even better in terms of showing you on the equities, when to do it. And you'll see, probably, the TSXV on its low, which is around now, is around 500 and change, and its high was around 3,000. So that's a 6-bagger on the TSXV across the whole index. So that type of stuff is going to happen. You're going to see a lot of 10 and 20 and 100 baggers out there, because things have been so savage. There's some other reasons why it's been savage, and maybe that'll be impacting it as well. But certainly a turn in the commodity pricing, especially with gold getting hot, because generally speaking, gold attracts investment. So I think this commodity move is on, and that's going to be very bullish for our sector. Maybe we could take some questions from the audience while we're waiting, just in case they have some, and we can maybe handle that.
Sure. Hi, Terry. Nickel demand is set to increase, but the spot price is down substantially over the last year. What's your take on why the spot price has been hit so aggressively?
Basically, the Indonesian supply would be the number 1 reason for sure, and probably the number 2 and 3 reasons as well. So that came on the market, and that basically, it's basically, but now it's sort of factored in, and as I said, from our discussion earlier, that it's not really a problem for North America. It's more of a problem for. So yeah, I think that ultimately the nickel market over the next couple of years will be in this 15 to 20,000 range. That's what I hear from Benchmark and Wood Mackenzie and those folks that are obviously analyzing the market every day. And whenever they get close to cutting off the Russian nickel, it goes up to approaches 20, and then when they talk about not cutting off Russian nickel, it drops back to 15. But in a couple of years, even despite EV sales being down, it's the growth that's down. It's not the sales overall, but still it's expected. And I never bought into every car is going to be EV, even though they're talking about this at the government level. I just don't see how that's possible because our grid just could not support it. But I think that ultimately that nickel will find a happy spot somewhere in the $10 to $15 range per pound, which is a long ways from here at the moment. But and again, from our economics, we're focused on the getting in the refinery business, which is really where it's quite lucrative, where they're getting the equivalent price per pound of almost triple that. So that's a big difference in terms of that we would expect the nickel to be so robust.
Enjoyed your morning drive with Carl, Terry. Do you believe this will be sold to industry directly?
Power nickel? No. I mean, it's possible. I mean, at the end of the day, we're a public company. People could make bids, and we'll have to evaluate them. But I believe we'll get the most value for our shareholders if we're able to develop the project. And I would not have said that 18 months ago. But after working with CVMR over the last year and seeing the potential in their business and our ability to access this business that we could not otherwise access, and transform our revenue model, I just unless industry decides they're going to share some of that with us and our shareholders, I don't see why we'd sell for 30 cents on the dollar when we can get $1. But you know what? I mean, I do know that industry decides that they want to have control of certain markets, and so maybe they have to pay up for us. So we're not ruling it out. We're open to discussions, but we're taking the viewpoint that we think we can work with CVMR and ultimately build not only a mine but a refinery and get in that business.
Perfect. We still have a little bit for it to upload, so we'll do another question. We've got quite a few questions in here, which is nice.
Yep.
Hey, Terry, you mentioned assay results. Do you have a timeline for when they're expected?
Yeah, we're expecting to get some assays out next week, and then I would think the following week even more. We're starting to see it in the you get notification of when they're coming. So we're now gone through the big waiting period of 8 weeks or 10 weeks or whatever to get to the end of the process where you're every day you can start to kick out and get some assays. So yeah, it's we've got one assay in on that Wildcat zone, and we're expecting to get some more next week. It always takes about a week or so or at least a few days to quality control them and make sure that everything's on the up and up, and so that's why it takes a little bit of a delay from the time you receive the assays to the time you get them out.
Okay, Terry, the stock seems to be stuck in a holding consolidation period. What type of blue sky catalyst do you think will bring through this pattern?
It was stuck until today, I think, and we will announce. We'll announce right now, I guess. But there'll be a press release out, I guess this morning, that says we've just done a $2 million financing at 20 cents, so 10 million shares at 20 cents. So that's acted as a bit of an overhang a little bit on the market. We'll announce it. We'll we've got the demand for it already, and we'll close it early next week, and that's probably been what's held it in this range. They always know you at some point you need money, and so we had to take some money here. We think this is going to be the low point, and that this will be another catalyst for us is the fact that we've done that, and that overhang is now gone. North American nickel, the key visual there was this investment from Samsung. There's a Toronto Star article. I'm sure people might be aware of that. The commodity market's turning up. This is just a good graphic, but there's several of these. I think that it's pretty common knowledge in the mining investment space that commodities have been down, that we're about to enter a commodity bull market. This is statistically the fact, and the in the mining market, particularly with their, we're with the TSXV, we're almost at the bottom, very close, and the upside is like 6-7 times higher, just the whole index. So when you want to buy a stock, do you want to buy it at the top, hope that it's going to break new records, or do you want to buy it at the bottom? Maybe you have to wait a month or two, or even 6 months. But the biggest move in investing, in my opinion, is when you go from bad to less bad, and I believe that's about to happen for commodities and for mining stocks. I think it's happening in the gold sector now. I think it's going to happen for power nickel, for those reasons, and the fact that that now that this overhang is done with their stock, with the financing being done. So I think that's a really big catalyst and a reason why to invest now. So the last one was obviously where to develop, and we were just talking about Quebec and how it's such an amazing jurisdiction. The reason why it's amazing is for three primary reasons. One is the infrastructure is terrific, right? They've made a massive investment over time there. So we're located off of Route North, and literally we drive off a major, at that point, 3-lane highway, and right to our site. And our drillers tonight, when they go home, they drive into the town of Nemaska, about 8 kilometers away, stay at a very nice Cree-owned hotel, and and have a good meals and everything. Infrastructure is there in Nemaska of the town. It's got an airport. It's got power and water. We're literally located across the road from a Hydro-Quebec substation, so power is already at the site. This is stuff that usually costs millions and millions to build, but it's not necessary because we've already got that. So that's infrastructure. Second thing is that they've done an amazing job of working with the First Nations. So in this case, we're very fortunate to Power Nickel have the James Bay Cree as our primary First Nations partner, and they're very pro-business, very smart people. They've done a great job representing their community, and I think the Quebec government is to be commended for their approach in partnering and educating and working with the First Nations in a very productive way. And that's a very constructive way for us to follow and to work with. So a lot of times community risk is a very big risk in mining. It's not a risk here. Relative, there's always a risk, but we're talking, a very small risk relative to, look at our pure Talon Metals, great deposit in Michigan, Minnesota, but happens to be in Lake Country. And man, those people are fighting it hard, and I hope to God they get it approved in a way that somehow works for everyone. But we don't have that here, which is awesome. So that's amazing. Third reason, and probably the most compelling for Quebec, is the fiscal incentives. So we typically, when we do a financing, we've been doing them at 50 cents and 90 cents, and we've been doing it because we're getting 2-for-1 financing, and investors are getting in at half that price, 25 cents or 45 cents. And so we've been able to minimize dilution for our shareholders while we've moved the project ahead substantially. And that's not just available in exploration, but it's also available in development. So when we build this project, and it might cost, $300 million or $400 million, something in that range, up to half of that we expect will be covered by government grants and tax credits, etc., that we can turn to cash. So all of a sudden, the equity we need to really build this project is already sort of there. So it's a pretty amazing set of circumstances, and it's one of the reasons why we think Quebec is such an amazing spot to work. So those were the top 5 reasons. I'm going to give you some bonus ones. We're extremely undervalued compared to our peers. If you look at this chart and you look at pounds of nickel in the ground, and this is like, forget about what we've discovered at Wildcat, which is a completely different animal. And somebody asked me the other day, what we thought, about the economic impact of Wildcat. And I said, look, I always thought, we had about 10% of our value was PGMs, and probably 65-70% nickel. I suspect that's going to be more like 50-50. So and I always was on record as saying I think this will be a multi-billion-dollar nickel project at the end of the day. So it gives you some concept of what we're thinking about on the other side. So we're extremely undervalued for what we've already discovered and shown in the 43-101, and we're making a lot of great new discoveries. And you're going to see more and more about that. So that's another bonus reason to like it. I think we've done an amazing job of working with technology. That's helping us find all these discoveries. We've been using this new ambient noise tomography. We've talked about that a bit in the past, and it's a really great way to sense base metal deposits and to sense basically the speed of the rock underneath the ground. And it's another measurement tool that we can use in conjunction with downhole EM and airborne EM and magnetics and IP. And you bring all these sciences together, and the ambient noise is a very powerful tool in helping us understand it and to make good, wise, more effective drilling decisions. So we're doing that. We're going to have a carbon neutral nickel mine. How great is that? We think we can build a mine in a sustainable way. So, the reason why we'll do it is obviously, because it's good for the environment, but it's also going to be good for our shareholders because we think it's going to lead to higher prices. We're seeing that, with the Samsung, and, they could definitely source cheaper nickel, but they chose to invest in Canada Nickel because they need cleaner nickel, and they need nickel in North America. So I think that's another, compelling reason to sort of think about. And the management team, I'm really happy with our group. It's very lean, but everyone's focused. The board's doing a great job of being supportive and keeping me on my toes. But they've also become good shareholders, and that's significant. Over 50% of our company is owned by, about 5 or 6 groups. Myself and my family are the biggest one. Board owns about 4%. But having big shareholders is really important, especially at an early stage. It means you can't get taken out unless you want to get taken out. So, and our want price to get taken out is a very high price, and that's good for you as a shareholder. The team has been great. Ken has done an amazing job as our VP of Exploration, and he's running a very effective partnership with GeoVector, who is our feet on the ground at NISC. They've done an amazing job. They're also great, geological consultants. You can't buy that talent if you're a junior, but you can rent it, and it's cost effective to do so. So we've been really super lucky with a really great management team. And Jimena runs our Chile operations. We're going to talk about that in just a second because that's let's talk about it now. We're spinning out our Chile operations and the BC operations, and that's a bonus spin out. It's almost done. I know it's been it's taken forever to get, but it's just we've been so busy, but we are very close to this now. I was talking to the lawyers today, and we were hoping to get it done by end of May. It looks like it might be mid-June, but it's definitely coming. But we'll get the offering circular out in short order. And why is that exciting for you guys? Well, we're not getting any value for this at the moment. So this will have a couple, we think, enormous potential impacts. One is we sent Fleet, the ambient noise tomography, down to Chile to do our projects down there, and they came back with some red hot targets for us that we really think, and their biggest success, Fleet really was developed in West Australia, for the mining, territories in Australia, and as a result, they become very proficient at working in deserts. So this is the first time it's ever been used in Chile, and we think we've identified some really compelling drill targets, and I think the Spinout company is going to have a hell of a head start, and that's good. Now we kept it private. It's obviously as shareholders, you'll get, if you're a shareholder, you'll get an important your percentage share. We're keeping it private, and one of the reasons we're keeping it private is I think we've spoken, we filed a complaint with FINRA and CRO on the naked short selling of Power Nickel stock. One of the ways to combat naked short sellers on a company level is to do something like this, because on the private spinout, they will not be able to get those shares faked through the market like they're currently doing, because our regulatory system is not as good as it should be. But in this case, the only time you can get this share is you get it from our transfer agent, who will have to see that you physically own the share, and so that's going to, I believe, create a bit of a focus on the people to buy the stock. So that's another plus, another bonus. And let's see, do we have? The last bonus, the royalty. We're in discussions on selling this royalty. But again, probably sort of $3 to $5 million US. Sometimes some people say more, some people say that there certainly wouldn't be less than 3. But that should happen. We think we'd hope to get it done in Q1. I hope to get it done certainly in H1. And again, a kicker that nobody's counting on. So that's pretty much the top 5 reasons, and a few other bonus reasons, why we think Power Nickel's a great opportunity. So hopefully you were able to see those, and the technological glitches are over, and we can get to the rest of the questions and bid everyone a good night.
Perfect. Okay, so we'll jump back into the questions here. Terry, have your geologists been challenged about the geology at all from industry insiders and newsletter writers? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, you're always challenged when you're talking with analysts, and we've had a few research reports done with, we just had one done by Hanam Partners, which is, I would consider, probably the top nickel research firm in the world. They did the only really big nickel deal last year called Lifezone on the New York Stock Exchange, and so they picked us up, and we did a research for them. It's a very good report, very detailed, and so I mean, the good thing about NISC is the geology is not crazy complex. There's obviously nuances and twists and turns and faults and things, but we've used all the good science we can to put that science together. We've got a great and experienced team, so we haven't had anybody come and I guess the one complaint would be is that it's too small, that the 7.1 million tons is too small, and we're saying, like, use your imagination. Do you think that's all we're going to find? I mean, that's just absurd. Obviously, it's a big section. This is not how nickel is developed anywhere in the world. You never get onesies. You're always going to have multiples. And then, of course, we had that bonus, PGM Discovery that we alluded to, and now we're shortly to see. We've already put out a significant press that's a blockbuster. So yeah, if you're a geologist and you don't like the NISC geology, you're not a very good geologist.
Good answer. Okay. Somebody has asked, will the financing that was mentioned receive the pass-through benefit?
Not sure what they mean by that. It's not a flow-through.
I think that's what they meant, flow-through.
Yeah, it's not a flow-through, no.
Okay. Terry, you have a huge network giving your Save Canadian Mining initiative, but most importantly, your long-standing career. Are there still high net worth individuals you can go to get more people into the stock? Also, I enjoyed your interview with Agoracom.
Yeah, I've been blessed. I've had a good, successful career. Ups and downs like any entrepreneur, but more ups and downs, thankfully. And I would say not all of them are in. Some people, honestly didn't like nickel. They not just because some people are just like, for example, Eric Sprott. He's not a nickel investor. That's just not him. So, however, he is a PGM investor. So I think as that thing blossoms, then then you have a number of people that in my world that were gold people, or or copper people, copper, gold, PGM, whatever, but not nickel. All of a sudden, those guys become possible investors. Certainly they would be at that point. They'd be crazy not to review it. So yeah, I think when you add a whole new sector, it opens up new investment opportunities across the board. So that's one of the reasons why it's such an amazing catalyst to have on our hands.
Great. Hi, Terry. What other company would you compare your projects to, and how undervalued do you believe your market cap is?
Yeah, I think we're trading about a tenth really of what we should be. And then as we start to get these PGM things out, then it gets, you could do it by double it again, easy. I mean, I really think, I have no doubt, and this is me, and obviously I'm the biggest investor, so I'm preaching in my own church. I believe this will be a $1 billion company someday, and it could be sooner than we all think. So we're at what, 30 million now? So that gives you an idea of what I think can happen, what I think will happen. I think that'll be born on the results, not some sort of fancy, marketing promo, because none of that stuff is sustainable. The only thing that's sustainable in mining is great ore bodies with great people to develop them. That's what works.
Okay. What's the all-in cost for drilling, and what are you doing to keep the cost down?
Yeah, well, you basically, the best way to keep the cost down is to drill wisely. So that's why we made the investment in the science. We have, the downhole EM, the airborne EM, the physics, the ambient noise tomography. So we hit on over 50% of our holes last year. There's not many mining companies that can make that claim. So, as a result, we don't have to drill as many holes. So that's the number one way you keep your drilling costs down, is make less, have to explore less bad holes. Mm-hmm. Other than that, the thing, we have done, but as much for, this was what was available to us as a microcap miner, is that we don't have a ton of staff. We don't have an office space. We basically have, our accountants, run our back office, and when I took over the company, we were spending $240,000 a year on accounting. We're spending 60 or something like that. So we've been super frugal, because if you weren't frugal, you were dead. You just didn't survive, or you never got any money to put in the ground. And we've been all about putting money in the ground. And what we did as a lean explorer is we found some great geological consulting firms that we could work with that were cost effective, especially on the flow through tax basis, because if they're employees, you can't write them off as much. If they're arm's length, you can write them 100% off. So on an after tax basis, we found, when we did our math as a little company, that it was way more effective to do it that way. So that was another tactic we used. And we've just tried to find highly motivated people that are coming more because they see the upside of the project. So Ken Wimson, our VP of exploration, super talented guy, he ran his own geological consulting firm. He was the guy that we hired to actually do the first round of drilling. So he's literally the guy who discovered the project, or at least this generation of it. And he modeled it out, and we hit 7 of the first 8 holes. So it took me about a year and a half of whining and dining and recruiting to get Ken to say, hey, put your consulting firm over here and, come and work on the beast that is NISC. And, and he's done a great job of leading us and in partnership and teamwork with GeoVector, who has been a phenomenal geological consulting firm to work with. They, Adam and Joe and Eric and the whole team has just been, it's many deep, and they're all super competent and great people to work with. So, is it more expensive to have geological consultants? It just depends. Again, if you look at the after-tax cost, I don't believe so. And if you look at the after-tax per unit of talent, definitely not.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Terry, do your First Nations partners own any equity in the company?
No, not yet. I mean, obviously, we're in constant communication with them, and generally speaking, with the First Nations, the idea is to obviously be in constant communication, and then as the project evolves, your relationship with them will evolve. So we're heading up there in May. We're going to probably do an analyst tour up there. And I'm going to spend some time meeting with the chiefs and the tele people and just get to know them on a personal basis. And obviously, our staff has been doing that already, but this will be my first opportunity to do that. And we've got a very holistic view of what we can do with NISC, and to make an even more vibrant community for Nemaska. There'll be something great we can do together, and we have every reason to believe we can execute that.
Great. Terry, have you heard of Bill Gates' AI mining company, Kobold? Have you had any contact with them to help find more at your deposit?
I've heard of it. I've looked at some areas that they're in, not close to us, but in other areas. I've not had any direct contact with them. I'm not aware that they have any technology edge that I don't have access to, and I believe Fleet's technology will match up with anything they've got, and it's much more evidence of proof. The jury's still out on those guys. They're smart guys. I'm sure they'll be successful, but I don't. I'm unaware of any. Breakthrough they've made technologically wise that we don't have access to, working with the current set of suppliers or with Fleet.
Okay. Terry, are there other companies also using ambient noise tomography that you know of, or is there a consensus within the industry regarding that tech?
Yeah, so Rio Tinto is probably their biggest client, and Fleet is Australia's fastest growing company. So they just did I don't know, their last round valued them at unicorn levels, like more than $1 billion in value. So they've got a lot of clients, and we're probably one of the smallest.
Perfect. Terry, are you familiar with how Gulf states are putting their money into mining?
Yeah, I just came back from Dubai, had a really great session over there. Our CVMR, while nominally a Canadian company, they most of their projects are in Africa or Asia, and so most of their operations are there. So I was there meeting with our partners and got to meet many of the figures over there, and believe that the Gulf states will actually have a role to play in financing projects in a big way. I think they're going to make a big move into tokenization, and we're definitely having conversations with some very heavy hitters from that part of the world, and we believe they will be players not only for power nickel but for across the mining spectrum.
Okay, last question. It's a few parts here. I'm worried that the low share price is going to be extremely dilutive or starve power nickel of capital altogether before a nickel mine can be developed. Can you speak about capital raising strategies if the undervalued share price continues? Also, thank you for all of your hard work. We see you out there every day, and you're amazing.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it. Listen, I think we're about to see the renaissance of power nickel. I really do. Wait until you see these results, okay? And I can't imagine there's no scenario that I can see where it doesn't get impacted into a positive way in the market. And we'll see, we're doing some things on multiple levels, but the biggest one is the assays, but we're dealing with the shorts in several ways. I just think that we've got so many catalysts, there's just no way that they can stop this thing. So we're going to get fair value, and we'll finance. We had to do this round here because we needed some soft costs. We've been financing the flow through all the way through, so we just didn't have enough capital to. We just can't keep. You have to have some soft cost money to pay various bills that you can't pay with flow through money. So that's when it was hurt. But it was interesting, investor wise, the last deal was 25 cents with a half a warrant. We could have done that deal, but I didn't want to give any more bloody warrants up. So because I think the warrants will just be expensive, so we did it at a flat 20, and I think that'll probably prove to be a very prudent move. And I think this will be the low point. And I think we'll rip it up from here.
Awesome. That's a great note to end things off on. Terry, where can people reach you if they have questions or concerns they want to talk about?
Yeah, so Terry at powernickel.com. In fact, I can put this right up now if you can see that. Either myself or Duncan, and those are our numbers and stuff. So we I think it's once every 2 weeks we do take meetings on Fridays, as we call Friday mornings, 9 to 12. And so you can. If you certainly contact Duncan, he can hook you up on that. There's a Calendly app, and we try and be as approachable as possible. We're a small company, so we're transparent as we can be, and as communicative as we can be, because we've been in your shoes. We've been investors and are still investors, and we like to be able to talk to the people we're investing in and understand what they're doing and why they should have our hard-earned money.
Oh, and it's always great for people to get it right from you and the team themselves, right?
Yeah, for sure. I get it.
Thank you so much, Terry, for joining us. Apologies for the few hiccups that we experienced, but hopefully we get you back on here again for another redo.
Okay, yeah. Well, we'll definitely have to troubleshoot this. But anyway, thanks for having us. And again, I apologize to everyone. Generally, I'm not that much of a goofball on the technological side, but what are you going to do? It didn't quite work out, but we hopefully got the message across, and we'll look forward to talking to you again soon. And otherwise, have a great evening and have a good night. Cheers.